So it's actually been a little comical, and by a little, I mean absolutely. What's going on, Jerome's? So it's actually been a little comical, and by a little, I mean absolutely not at all. The way the Vikings have literally just dropped the ball during their alleged 0-3 start to the season. The Vikings have muff punts. They've had Ed Ingram knock the ball out of Cousins' hands. They've had the stupid pylon rule, and they've just had straight up fumbles at the most inopportune points of the games, and it's just rough, man. And the Vikings right now, turnover differential, they're the worst in the league with -7 and 7 total turnovers so far this season. 7 fumbles, 2 interceptions, and just no bueno. It's no bueno, man. And Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell, a little bit, channel a little bit of Zim, a little bit of wah wah wah, laying down the law in his Monday press conference after the Vikings again alleged 28-24 loss against the Los Angeles Superchargers. This is what he said about the ball security. This is what he said about it in general. When the situation is as tough as it is right now, we got to lean in even more. We got to do a little bit more. Every coach, every player, collectively and individually, just got to do a little bit more. Head coach Kevin O'Connell working through 0-3. Yes, and also doing more would be holding on to the ball. That is what Kevin O'Connell said via Kevin Seifert, ESPN, who was not Carl Gershmidt. Who was not. Kevin O'Connell, when asked today if turnovers can be contagious. Okay. Quote, no. I think that's something that we're going to fix one way or the other. Either guys are going to do it, or we're going to have to put other guys in the game that have ball security. Woo, woo. More direct than he's ever been. And what's great is, Kevin O'Connell was drafted by Bill Belichick in the 3rd round out of San Diego State in 2008. And, Belichick is infamous for, if a running back fumbles, he gets benched, or receiver fumbles, he gets benched, right? And now the Vikings, we'll get into, maybe that's not feasible for the Vikings, but Seifert continues. Who's not Carl Gershman? TJ Hawkinson had the ball ripped away from him yesterday in traffic to end the Vikings' first possession. A specific scenario the Vikings drilled against last week. Also, Alexander Mattison had 1 fumble discounted because forward progress, and another because he was already down. And that was tough too. And plus, Kirk and Madison almost had a third one on the what looked like mesh on the exchange of a RPO. So it was rough. Then he continues, O'Connell, we need to end every snap with the football in our hands, and that's going to be continued urgency and emphasis like it was last week. And we're going to continue to do it and do it differently and emphasize in different ways until that value is received. And it's just so weird where ball security wasn't an issue with the Vikings last year, but it's just popped up through the first 3 games, and I don't know if it's like Chuck Knobloch and the Yips, but it just seems to happen at the most inopportune times. And the culprit so far this year, people pile on Kirk Cousins like, well, he's got 3 fumbles. Well, let's walk through the fumbles. The Ed Ingram one, the Antoine Winfield coming completely unblocked, as well as week 2, the Josh Sweat coming from the blind side. So do you necessarily put all 3 of those on Kirk Cousins? No, but he does get credited for them, and he is blamed for them. Hawkinson had the ball ripped away on that first drive against the Chargers, which was a killer, man. I mean, that really did take the air out of the building for a hot second because the Vikings were driving. The Vikings were trying to get off the schneid, and it gave the Chargers momentum, and then they drove down 80 yards for a touchdown. Jefferson, obviously, with the pylon extension. Stupid rule, but it is the rule, and it is what it is. Madison with the fumble. Week 2 against Philly, and then Brandon Powell with that muff punt as well. So, I mean, the Vikings certainly have their issues there. And with the 2 interceptions, like the one before the half against the Bucks, that's certainly on Cousins. The one at the end of the game against the Chargers, I put that more on Hawkinson, but neither here nor there. But yeah, the whole thing is like, Kevin O'Connell can talk tough all he wants. Like, hey, we're going to get the ball, or we're going to put guys in the game who have better ball security. Well, I don't know, man. So the only real replacement on here would be Madison, and it would be Cam Akers coming on in, or Ty Chandler, or even Myles Gaskin. Who knows? But you're not going to replace Hawkinson despite his really terrible, very bad game. Josh Oliver is really solid, but he's more of a tight end too. Yeah, obviously not benching Jefferson. I mean, Brandon Powell. I mean, who do you put back there at punt returner? I mean, I don't know. So, and obviously you're not benching Kirk Cousins. So, yeah, Kevin O'Connell can talk about that all he wants, but I do think that it was a way to specifically dial in on Alexander Mattison, where, I mean, Mattison had his issues on Sunday. Even though he ran for 93 yards, which is great, he had that big-time drop at the end of the game, and also he had a number of near fumbles, which, I mean, officials sort of bailed him out on that one in the red zone, and then the other one was close too, but either way, you have to play better than the ref's ref, and chances are they'll get one of those wrong. And you got to hang on to the football. It's got to be paramount, and that's the whole thing too. If the Vikings have lost a turnover battle in all 3 games, 3-3-1, and if they just turn the ball over one time less, that completely changes the complexion of all 3 games, and that's the razor-thin margins in this game. Where, yeah, the Vikings 11-0 last year in one-score games, 0-3 this year, and the Vikings are this close to being 3-0. And the narrative completely changes, and it's the same damn football team. Just a little bit of puck luck goes that other way. Like on Sunday, if a Caleb Evans catches that interception as opposed to letting it bounce off his hands and getting into Josh Palmer for a touchdown, or if Hockenson hangs on to that ball at the end where he got 2 hands on it, or he doesn't fumble in the first half, I mean, there's a lot of different things. So, I mean, it's so weird that that's something that just creeps up, and it's something that I feel like it's a little bit of quicksand where the Vikings are all constantly thinking about it now, and then they're worried and they're walking on eggshells. Oh, don't fumble. And that's when you do fumble. Either way, got to get this stuff cleaned up, start winning the turnover battles, and you got it made in the shade. Again, this is a good football team that just consistently can't get out of its own way, as evidenced in the first 3 games, but it's time. It's time, man. Time to get this cleaned up. But your thoughts are thoughts. Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell lays down the law on ball security. We'll see if he follows through. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol production value.